welcome back to another episode of Obsessed by Everything Bravo. My name's Meredith, and I am your host on our journey through the Real Housewives. Today, we are going to be talking about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 2, Episode 9, entitled Otherwise Engaged. So, where we left it is Kyle and Brandy kind of made up. Kim does not care. And everything else is good, but there's like some underlying tensions between all the women. Some underlying unspoken tensions. There's some between Lisa and Adrienne. There's some between Lisa and Taylor. Camille is really, really trying to stay out of the mess. And Kim and Kyle are still not 100%, right? And that's where we're going. The last event we had was Adrienne's spa party. That went pretty well. And everybody showed up on time, I guess. Everybody had a good time. Even Dana was there. Dana Wilkie. If you haven't had a chance, look her up. She, like I said, she does a lot of like stuff like this. I'm pretty sure she has a podcast and she likes to comment on housewives and things like that. So, look her up if you get a chance to. She's an interesting character, still hanging out on the Housewives Network, just like I said, how they always do. All right, so let's open up. So Lisa is driving and she's starting to make calls. And she calls Camille, who goes to voicemail, and she calls Adrienne, and it goes to voicemail. And she's like, nobody ever answers the phone in Beverly Hills. And then she calls Kyle, who does answer the phone. And so Lisa just wants to talk to Kyle about Pandora's party, her engagement party that's going to be at Muhammad's on Tuesday. The way that they have these huge, expensive, ridiculous parties just like on a random Tuesday is crazy to me. Like, I get it because their calendars are so full they can't just only do stuff on the weekends. But when we go to see this party, I mean, they have camels. But you know what? It's good for those people who work in the service industry, because that means you get work all the time, right? Okay, so and then Kyle was like, well, you never told me about cooking with Adrienne. And Lisa's like, oh my God. I have to tell you about that. So she goes to tell her about Adrienne washing the chicken. And then Lisa calls Taylor. Okay. And so she's talking about the party. And this was so strange to me, this thing, because Lisa's like, I know there's an issue with Muhammad. And Taylor's like, okay. And she's like, Muhammad's hosting this party. It's in his home and he doesn't want Russell there. What the fuck? He doesn't want Russell there? And he doesn't want Russell in his home. What happened here? And Lisa says, look, I can't invite him because Muhammad doesn't want him in his home, but I still want to invite you. So if you want to come, I know it's weird. So if you don't want to come, my feelings are not hurt because Russell's not invited. And immediately Taylor's like, no, I'll come. And this is strange. This is so strange to me because I don't know what happened between Russell and Muhammad. I can only imagine it was some sort of business deal gone wrong, and it was Russell's fault. Since we last spoke, and for this set of episodes, I've done some research on what was going on with Russell. I didn't do this because it wasn't really that big of a deal. I think this little incident is just like so interesting. But if someone was like, called me up and said, your husband is not welcome here, I would not go to the party. I don't know. That's just me. And so I don't know. That's just me. The other thing is like, she was just like so quick to go, but also keep saying her and Lisa are not friends. So it's like, what's happening here? Okay. Anyway, let's just put a pin in that because I would like to talk about it in a couple episodes or maybe in the next episode. So Taylor is now meeting Dana at a bakery because they are now planning Kennedy's birthday party. So last year, Kennedy, her birthday party was that Mad Hatter party. Okay. This year, it is going to be a ranch. It's the theme, I think, is like county fair or something like that. So it's going to be like an outdoor thing. And so she's picking out the cake. And, Dana's a party planner. So Dana's there helping her. And the cake lady is like, oh, well, about how many people are going to be there? And they're like, oh, maybe 200. The cake lady's like, oh, okay. Like, that's like a wedding. And so, and Taylor says that she feels like everybody wants her to apologize to her part for the party that she had last year, but she didn't feel like there was anything wrong with it because she wanted to make it a big event to celebrate her daughter, and it was, a family event, and they don't do anything else like that. So, I mean, you know what? That while it was ridiculous to spend like, I don't know, what was it, $40,000, $60,000 on a 4-year-old's birthday party, it's also do what you want. It doesn't, who cares? It kind of reminds me of when Jill Zarin, she was getting that interview and they were like, don't you feel guilty? There's a recession going on. And she's like, it's people like me that keep the economy going. Same thing with Taylor. It's like, okay, well, if you didn't spend all that money, think, now that money's still circulating in our economy. So she's keeping our economy open by spending money on birthday parties. I have to wonder what she would do in these times. Would you still be, and that party would have been $100,000. Kyle takes her mother-in-law. So Estella is Kyle's mother-in-law. That's Mauricio's mom. She wants to get a facelift. Now they also show at one point, because she's getting a facelift with Paul. And at one point they show last year remember when Farrah graduated college, and then because Estelle's like a marriage counselor or sex counselor, and Paul and Adrian were like talking to her for a really long time, and she was like giving them marriage advice, and then he was like, you know what, you could use a little bit of a facelift. They show that scene. Also, why would you go to Paul? He was like, you could use a little, like if somebody, look, I understand it. I'm not most beautiful. This right here, these jowls are bothering me. My wide face. I can't help it. I'm just chubby. And I would love to get rid of that, but I also don't like pain. I don't want to. But if somebody came up to me and was like having a conversation with me and was like, you could use a little bit of a facelift, I wouldn't never show my face around them again. I don't know. I'm just embarrassed. Kyle is like wigging out because she has to have a scene every year where she just like wigs out about something. Last year it was flying. This year it's about Estelle having a facelift. She's like wigging out. She doesn't want her to get, I mean, obviously it's surgery. It comes with risks, right? She doesn't want her to have bad outcomes. We go into the OR again. Like, while I have seen all these episodes before and I have seen them go in the OR, it's still just like gross. Like, how sterile is that? Are you sterilizing that equipment? I mean, you can't bring outside germs into the OR. I don't know. Do they have some kind of covering that they put on and everything is covered but the lens? Like, I need to know the behind the scenes on that because it really bothers me that you're contaminating the OR. After the surgery, Kyle and Mauricio is there, and then his sister to go back and see Estella. But of course, her face is like, she looks like a mummy. Her face is like wrapped up and it's like all swollen and red and puffy. And Kyle's freaking out, and she hides behind the curtain. And she's like, I don't want her to see me. I don't want her to see me freaking out. So don't freak out. Okay, so then we go over to Taylor's, and she has a chef cooking for her, and it's a fancy meal, and with beef and shrimp. And I was like, is this like her home chef? Like, what? No, she's hosting a dinner party for Kyle and Mauricio. But I had so many questions that I wrote in my notes, and then I was like, oh, okay, she's having a dinner party. And Portia comes as well, but Portia and Kennedy, they go play. Neither one of them eat. Did he eat before? I don't know. Portia's so cute this season. I mean, she's just adorable. Eventually, when we go to Kennedy's birthday party, Portia's having the time of her life. She's like a twain. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen. It makes me miss my son being like a toddler. And then Kyle pops in to a confessional and says that Taylor will tell them things that make them not like Russell. So it's hard because then they see him and he's very polite and he seems like a nice person. It's confusing. And the dinner party is awkward because Kyle and Mauricio are very lovey-dovey, and then Taylor and Russell are just sitting there staring at them. Taylor has told us before that her marriage is like a business arrangement. So they're like business partners. And we haven't touched on Taylor's marriage in a couple episodes, but it seems, they're having this hard marriage. She's doing all this therapy. She had a breakdown in Colorado, and then we kind of dropped it for a little bit. Okay. So, but now they're watching Kyle and Mauricio, who are they're just like holding hands and they're like just giving each other like quick little kisses at the table. It's very sweet. The Kyle and Mauricio for a really long time were like my favorite couple. And to see, it's like the contrast between the two couples is mind blowing. So Russell opens and the way that, first of all, this is the first time we've seen Russell the whole season. We're in the 9th episode, and that's fine. I don't need to see Russell. I don't need to see any of the men. I don't need to see Ken. I don't need to see Paul. I don't need to see Russell. They're there. Fine. Whatever. But it's weird that this is the first time we've seen him. He didn't go out with the boys. We haven't seen him at home. And the way that he opens this up, it just seems so contrived because it's almost like the only reason that they had this dinner party was to have this conversation. So he opens the floor, or whatever. He opens this conversation and he says, "Well, did you read the big story today?" And Kyle's like, "Yeah, I heard." And so Russell says, "Us Weekly." And we separated. I guess we officially separated today. And Mauricio goes, "And yet we're having dinner." And Russell's like, "Yeah, I don't understand it either." So then Taylor gets up to go grab the Us Weekly. So you spent money. You gave them money after they fall. Maybe that's what they're going to do. Maybe they only put false stories in and you guys just buy it. And so they're all kind of reading the article and Kyle goes, "Well, at least they used a really good picture of you." That's all I would be worried about. And then she says, "No, I would be so upset." And Russell says, "Right. And I don't mean to falsely accuse anybody." Okay, so let me pause before we get into the next part. Basically, US Weekly, or I thought it was Us Weekly, but they keep saying US Weekly, which I don't know, I guess it doesn't matter, was printed some kind of little blurb. You remember, like, these magazines are so old. Like, I have not bought a magazine in a store. I couldn't tell you. But back in the day, they would, in the very beginning, not the very beginning, but like in maybe from pages 5 to like 10 or ish. So they would have those little small columns, and they would have little inset pictures with just like little blurbs that were maybe like 10 to 20 lines about just like gossip, because these were weekly magazines. So they had to print something, right? And then after that would be like the main articles of whatever they were featuring. And then after that would be like advertisements. So in this little section where it's just like the actual gossip, where it's just like this little inlaid picture with just like 10 lines. And I'm not talking about 10 sentences. I mean 10 lines of copy with a picture in the middle of it. It's basically saying that Russell and Taylor broke up and she's like filing for a divorce and all this stuff that clearly doesn't seem to be true as we're looking at it. Okay. So, they're reading this little, and it's literally just like a couple of inches, of print and then a picture. And so Russell says, "Right. I don't mean to falsely accuse anybody, but a certain person that we all know told me that Lisa is friends with the editor of US Magazine. Is that true? And Kyle's like, well, yeah, she's been friends with her for years. And Taylor tells us that she finds it coincidental and asks Kyle if she would have told Lisa that they were doing this, like the editor of the magazine would have told Lisa that they were doing this. And Kyle's like, no, I don't think she would have said anything to Lisa. Like she's not gonna divulge that. I mean, she's not gonna divulge that information. Are you serious? And Taylor says they wouldn't tell her someone who was close to her was gonna be in the magazine. Okay, so essentially what they're saying is, hey, a little birdie told us, wink, wink, that that Lisa's friends with this editor magazine lady. So this is the second time that Taylor has accused Lisa of going to the press with bad information about her. Okay, just clock that for a second. And Kyle tells us that she doesn't believe that Lisa has anything to do with the article. It's not like there's one person who knows what's going on in their marriage. Everyone around town's been gossiping about it for a long time. I would love to just know the scuttlebutt of the Beverly Hills. Like, who all do you mean? Who all is gossiping? Anyway. So Russell said, it's very unusual that I receive a phone call the day this article came out and it links them to Lisa. I'm not accusing her, but I think it's just a strange thing to happen today. I think it's strange that you're not allowed to go to Muhammad's parties. Let's circle back to that. So then Russell says, and I met with one of my litigators today. Litigator, please. Your lawyer? Like, what litigator? A litigator is someone who goes to the courtroom. So you mean your lawyer who's going to file a lawsuit? That's not, whatever. Anyway, he's like, I met with one of my litigators today, and he said we can just serve them with a lawsuit, and they will tell us who their source is to make the lawsuit go away. Yeah. Famously, journalists are really, open to giving sources during lawsuits. Are you serious? They will literally take you to the Supreme Court, my friend. That is the dumbest. You need to fire that litigator, because obviously he's also giving you bad business advice if you are persona non grata at one of the richest people's house that we know. It's so strange. You're going to sue them to tell who your source is. Who cares? It's gossip. And you can only sue them if it's untrue. Right? You know what I mean? So how are you going to prove that? Because Kyle is saying that everybody around town thinks the same thing. So then they can have witnesses that say, did you think they were getting divorced before this article came out? And everybody's going to be like, yeah, I did. I already thought that. Lawsuit tossed out. Okay. Kyle tells us it makes her uncomfortable that Russell is talking about a lawsuit against someone in their group. It's awkward. Am I next? And yes, you're not next, but yes, that's the perfect way to think about it, especially for housewives. Once you start throwing around litigation and lawsuits, it's done. There needs to be, it probably needs to just be spelled out in their contract that they're not allowed to do X, Y, and Z. And I don't know what's in their contract. I just know about the Bethany clause, right? But once you start throwing around lawsuits, people are not going to want to be with you on the show. And that's just how it is. And yeah, because if you're going to sue one person, then you're feeling good about suing anybody. Okay, so now we go over to Lisa's, and we see she's getting ready for the engagement party. Kim calls and she's like, oh, I can't move. I can't come. I'm moving. And LV, she goes, please, can't you just come for one drink? And then she's like, I didn't mean that. So I don't know so then Jason and Pandy come, and I don't know what to think about Jason, because he's too perfect. Do you know what I'm saying? He always knows the exact right thing to say, the exact right thing to wear. He's just obviously he's very well I want to say well bred, but you know what I'm saying? He's of a blue blood, as you would say. I guess I don't know. Um, then Lisa gives Pandora a present, and it was a bracelet that Ken had given her when she was pregnant, and they had it remade into a necklace. It's just like this big heart necklace with like diamonds on the front, and on the back it has an inscription, and it says "Remember one thing." And Pandora says, yeah, she always used to say, "Remember one thing, mommy loves you." And so they didn't put the "mommy loves you." It's just like the "remember one thing." Very sweet. And then Ken's like, well, "You gave away my present." Then they give Jason. Ken gives Jason a watch that was like as he handed down a watch. It wasn't a brand new watch, and it's special. That was special to Ken because Lisa gave it to him for his birthday, and it was like an expensive watch. So they have engagement presents. Now everybody, where we're starting to arrive at Muhammad's, and there is a live camel at the front. Everyone who starts arriving is like gets out of their car and is like, "Oh my god, a camel!" Some people love it. Some people hate it. There's also ladies that are dancing with snakes. They look like Britney Spears. And then Taylor is like absolutely terrified of this snakes. They make the snake but they're right by the entrance. So they make these snake ladies like leave. And I'm assuming they probably have to do that with anyone who is petrified of snakes. Like what a weird thing to have. We also in the background and all these people, I see Sheena Shea. So we'll meet her in not too long of a time from now. There's also a mermaid, and she's out in the back by the pool, and she's like doing some kind of like. She looks like she's doing the worm in her mermaid like tail, and then Camille goes, "Wow, she's really flapping around." But she's not in the pool. She's just like on the deck of the pool. I don't know. Lots of performers, and this is what I'm saying. It's like, oh, okay, they can just do this stuff on a Tuesday, and the next day they're gonna go. I don't know, Conan O'Brien's house. I don't know, like whatever, whoever's having the next party. So Taylor and Lisa greet, and Taylor says, "Congratulations! I can't imagine what it's like to have your daughter getting married." So then Lisa's like, "Well, how are you doing?" And Taylor says, "Good." And then there's like some looks exchanged. Like I'm not quite sure what they're supposed to mean. And Taylor tells us, I want to talk about the tabloid leaks, but this engagement party is obviously not the right time. So Taylor just says, "Oh, the party is gorgeous." And then Lisa's like, "I'm sorry about the whole thing with Russell Muhammad." And Taylor's like, "It doesn't matter. He's traveling anyway." Really? Because you just had dinner. Like, I want to know what the timeline is. Farrah came to this party with Kyle and Mauricio, and her and Kyle are talking about how Pandora is only 2 to 3 years older than her. And Kyle's like, "Maybe it'll be you next year." Mohammed wants all the guests to go downstairs. They have someone doing airbrush tattoos. And this is where he has the big, like, Marrakesh style tent, very similar to what we saw on Roni for their vacation last year. He's got that downstairs, and that's kind of where he just, like, wants people to go. And Martin is there, and he has what I originally thought was a date, but it's not a date. It's some woman, I'm not sure, and her name is Daza. And then he introduces her to Taylor and Camille. And after talking to her for like 3 minutes, Taylor invites her to Kennedy's party. I was like, she was like, "Oh, you should bring her to Kennedy's party I'm having, whenever." Which is like, you don't know her. And so then Kyle walks up and asks Daza, she's like, "Oh, do you have kids?" And she's like, "No, but I might get pregnant by something on the floor here." And they're all like, "What?" I can't wait for this woman to show up to Taylor's 5-year-old's birthday party. And so then she says, "Well, Daddy doesn't want me to have kids." And Taylor's like, "Well, who is that?" And she says, "Well, it's my husband. Don't you call your husband Daddy?" And Kyle is just like next to her, and she like literally just like rolls her eyes so hard. Camille doesn't know where to look because she's trying to like maintain her composure, and she's like looking around. Then Adrian walks by, and Taylor goes, "Do you call Paul Daddy while you're having sex?" And she's like, "What? No." And she says, actually, what do I tell him to hurry up? How do you say that in Spanish? So then they're all like, andale, andale. So weird. Then Taylor tells us Mama doesn't want Russell in her home, but he thinks that this lady is appropriate. Baby, I guarantee you he did not know that this lady was going to talk about this. So then Taylor and Camille walk away and they're like, someone doesn't get enough attention at home. And they're like, where's daddy? And then they're joking about how he's probably in a geriatric hospital in a wheelchair. And now Lisa has walked up to this lady and has joined the conversation. And Kyle walks by and goes, this lady's a total whack job. So now we cut to another scene and it's Kim. And she's at a restaurant and she's going out to eat. And she tells us her family doesn't know this, but she's been keeping a secret. But she's not anymore. And so then we see she's sitting with a man who the man's facing away from the camera. So we can only see his back. And he asked her how she feels about her family finding out about them. And she says that she wants to make sure that they've been private because how are they supposed to know if they like each other when everybody is giving her their 2 cents? And that she's done that before, but this time she's going to do stuff differently. She tells us that they've been dating for a year. So this has been a long time. And she says, well, I didn't talk to Kyle for several months. But you didn't talk to Kyle for several months less than a year ago. So you kept this hidden before you weren't talking to her. And so also that means that you fell off the wagon at the beginning of this relationship. That's not good. That's not a good start to the relationship. So she didn't talk to Kyle for several months. And when she finally did, maybe she just didn't want to listen to her for advice. Okay? She tells him that she can't make anyone be supportive and hopefully they'll be happy for them. And then we see him. First of all, this man is named Ken. So not only do we have 2 Kens now, we also have Kim and Ken. I can't. This man also this man has a darkness about him. Okay, first of all, he's homely. Now, I don't like talking about people's looks. I like to preface that every time I say something bad about someone's looks. This man is homely. And especially if you've ever seen some of Kim's other husbands, they've all been attractive. They've all been attractive and they've all been rich. In fact, I didn't do it, but on TikTok, there's a girl, I wish I could remember her name. If I come across her again, because she does all the biggies. She's done like the Onassis, or all the rich people. This lady has done like a long TikTok about educational TikTok. She did one about Kim, and I actually put a comment on it. So maybe if somebody comments or likes my comment, I can remember, because I was like, you need to do Big Kathy. Please do a deep dive on Big Kathy because there's a lot to uncover there. But she did one on Kim. And it was like stuff that I knew, but it was about her husbands. But her second husband, who I did not know, which is Whitney and Chad's father, was a billionaire, literal billionaire with a B. His family was loosely the family that Dynasty was based off of. Loose, but so they were like oil billionaires from Texas, and she married into that family. So when Kim talks about the house that she had where she had all the staff, that's probably that time. And then the man who was murdered, that we learned about when she went to go see the psychic, right? And then the man that her last husband that she had Kimberly with. All these men have all been attractive and rich. Okay, this man is neither of those things. I don't know what is attracting her to him. I mean, obviously Kim has a lot of she's very vulnerable, and I feel like, she might be the type of person that if you swept her off her feet, that would be enough. I don't see any good qualities. This man also has just like a darkness, like my spidey senses tingling just seeing him and the way that they interact is very strange. Like he's love bombing her. But then also controlling her. And we'll get into this, but this is our first meeting with him. And Ken says, maybe our love will transcend. And she goes, you haven't met my sisters yet. So he asked if he's supposed to brace himself. And she says, this may not go over as smoothly as you think. And he's like, so I guess you're saying that you don't think they're going to like me. And she's like, yeah, and not for anything because of you. No one is good enough for me. But she does say that the biggest thing is she does want her sister's approval. Yeah, you're not going to get it. And I don't think you should. I think they're right on the money there. So now we go back over to the party, and Lisa and Muhammad are making speeches. She thanks the guests for coming and for Muhammad to being so gracious to throw a party for Pandora and Jason. And then she turns around to the girls and she's like, you guys need to behave yourself. And then Dazza, that lady with the daddy husband, just goes like this. Ugh. Like throws her nose up in the air. Also in the background is Bella Hadid. And I don't know if I have mentioned it, but Muhammad is the father to Gigi and Bella Hadid. And we will learn a lot about that later because their mother is a housewife that joins us next season. And then there's some contortionists that are performing, and Kyle goes, I can do this. So she jumps up on a table and she does her new favorite party trick, which I don't think we've seen before. It's the splits. Kyle loves to do the splits, and then she takes her hair in a ponytail and she whips it around like a like a lasso. And now all the ladies are trying to dance with these performers that are like contortionists and like acrobats, and they're all just like dancing and having a good time. A good clean time was had by all. And then something weird that I was like, oh, this is where these rumors started. But Farrah and Mauricio are just sitting watching everything, and they're like eating, but they look like a couple. It looks strange. It was strange. But that's that episode. So not a lot happened. A nice party where we see lots of people in the background that we know and love. But yeah, not a lot happened. Big important things for this one are going to be Taylor and Russell think that Lisa is selling stories or just spreading gossip to national magazines. And for me, Russell can't come to this party. That is so weird. Is that not weird? Like, I don't know. You know what? It happened and I was just, I'm just like trying to get through this content, and I don't really, it's like things happen and then I just kind of forget. I got to look into that because this is strange. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.